It is rightly said that if the habit is not changed on time, it changes the time of a person. Habit changes a person. Good habits make up a good career, good fortune, and a good future. Bad habits ruin everything. And today the discussion is about habits. If we do things repeatedly, we get used to them. Whenever you are in trouble, repeatedly tell your heart that everything is fine. Then after a certain time, your mind and heart assume that everything is fine and does not get panic even in trouble. Conversely, if you get upset and start thinking negatively in a bad situation, it may have an adverse effect. This habitual affair cannot be taken lightly. Researchers also say that our brain follows a pattern. For example, we chose to go to the same grocery shop again and again despite having other options. This type of habit does not make a significant loss. But some habits can stop our progress, success, and growth and eventually spoil our life. Habits are powerful that can change our future. Let us learn how we can go a long way in life through our practices with the help of this excellent book summary of the power of habits. Life is a beautiful dream, and there should be a desire to live. Sorrow will turn into happiness, but you should have a habit of smiling. A man's personality is the net result of his surroundings, home environment, fears, challenges, friends, family, and many more. But the most significant factor is how the person reacts to a situation at a particular time, which becomes his habit. When people are upset, they have the habit of biting their nails or moving here and there. We all know about our habits, and we also know which of them are preventing us from moving forward, from being successful. If we observe our habits, we come to see where these habits will lead us after a few years. But we are trapped in bad habits. We know this is wrong. It is not that those people who are stuck in those habits do not try. They try to get rid of them. But gradually they accept them and find it difficult to break the bond of bad habits. But according to the author, any habit can be changed. The human mind and talents are mighty. If a person practices the same thing repeatedly, it becomes his habit. And this good habit makes him successful. Even if a weak rope is rubbed constantly, it leaves a mark on the stone. You will see miraculous results if you practice your goal and make a habit. Proving the same thing, Charles gives a perfect example and tells a short story. A person who had got a brain fever started forgetting a lot of things. He used to recognize his relatives and friends rarely. But there were a few things that he would never forget. One day the old man went to the kitchen, made a pouch for himself, and finished the whole egg while listening to the radio. Half an hour later, he did the same thing again. His wife got upset due to this gesture and immediately took her husband to the doctor. There she met Larry Square, a scientist researching memory and brain activities. He was surprised to know about the patient who does not even remember his name, has forgotten his friends, and many such things. But he remembers his everyday things. He remembers where eggs are kept in the kitchen. He recalled that it was his routine, waking up in the morning. He used to eat eggs for breakfast and listen to the radio, which helped Larry Square and other researchers understand many things. The professor had been researching memory for several years to see how the brain works. Our brain works like a machine. Even if it forgets everything, some habits keep repeating like a machine. People knowingly or unknowingly do those things automatically. And the same thing happened with this elderly person who had forgotten everything except his habits. He had a tumor in his brain. It was very interesting for researcher Larry Square that a person who has forgotten everything still remembers the things which were part of his habit. At some point or other, we all have been bored with something and didn't want to do it again. But this is not the case with our habits. We don't even realize that we have repeatedly been doing the same thing for years. This is because a part of our brain that collects these habits when we go to sleep analyzes them. And because we do the same thing every day, our brain memorizes them, becoming a pattern. The second thing is chunking, a process in which the mind makes a chain of activities into a regular routine. Chunking is the reason for creating habits. Our daily activities depend on many such sets and chunks. There are many things with which we are habituated. In the morning, we brush our teeth and take a bath as we are used to that thing. We choose our clothes and we wear them as per our habits. When we do something new, then we have to think otherwise. Many things are part of our habits, and for which we do not have to think. Scientists say that habits emerge on their own because the mind does not want to make much effort. The brain does not take the extra burden or the pressure. Just like we avoid working hard and doing difficult things, our brain also avoids overthinking new things. The brain stops thinking about them and tells us to repeat the same old things that we have been doing, and in this way, we form our habits. When we work to form habits, the brain becomes free to think of something new and progressive and move forward. And on this matter, if you include what you want to achieve in life and what you want to be in your habits, then your mind will not take much stress and will follow the same good practices. It will keep repeating them again and again, and you will automatically achieve success. We are told many things in school and college, like eating almonds, drinking fennel tea, or even some medicines to increase our memory. Many of them are true, but no one tells us that we must include them in our habits. We have to change our pattern. We have to keep our minds free. The more our mind runs on the pattern of habits instead of thinking new things, the more we can focus on our studies. When we talk about habits, we mean good habits. If there is a bad habit, then it will disturb you. If we waste our time and energy thinking about petty things, it will create difficulties. Suppose you wake up every morning and think, what should I do now? Should I apply the paste? Should I brush? Or should I take a bath? We will just waste our time and probably will go crazy. So it is crucial to get used to a few things. It benefits us so that our minds become free and we can think of new things. We spoke about toothbrushes and toothpaste. But in early times, people used to clean their teeth with the trunks of the trees and the thin branches. There is a fascinating story about how a business became a massive brand by taking advantage of this habit. Claude C. Hopkins was a very famous American executive in the 19th century. One of his friends came up with a business idea for an exciting product, a foamy paste with a good and sweet flavor. He named it Pepsodent. He tried to convey his point with many logics, but there was a need to promote it. There were many dental problems with American people due to their diet. During the First World War, recruited soldiers also had dental issues, resulting in poor health. So overall, there was a perfect atmosphere for the Pepsodent paste. But since it was a new thing, Hopkins was a little nervous about how to promote it and sell it. But he had full faith in the fact that people need to clean their teeth, and there was a kind of pressure on people during the World War. People wanted to progress and adopt new habits that would lead to progress and help their country. No one will hold back from making such a habit. So how did Hopkins do it? Hopkins paid a lot of attention to two things, and his process and techniques can still be found in most books as the basic marketing rules. First, find an easy and practical reason why someone should make such a habit. And secondly, when you buy something or make a habit, what will you get from it? Hopkins had focused on these two things. First, he dealt with the people's fear and gave a smart solution. He said that tooth decay is causing damage to their health and that brushing teeth with Pepsodent is a simple solution. Second, he told them about the result in the form of advantages like their teeth would be clean, they will look beautiful, etc. Hopkins promoted that product for 6 to 7 months, bringing it to the people. Through whatever medium he could tell people, he started an awareness campaign, and within 5 years, Pepsodent became the world's most recognized brand. A product that was a part of a habit of the majority of people. Those who had the habit of brushing their teeth used Pepsodent. And for those who were not in the habit of brushing their teeth, circumstances forced them to adopt this habit. Whatever the reason, one thing is very clear from the story. Habits can be formed and developed according to one's own needs. So think about which habit you would like to develop in yourself to progress and become a better and more successful person. We can climb the ladder of success very quickly, only if we know how to form good habits. In this episode, we will here understand how to develop habits. Procter & Gamble earned billions due to Pepsodent. When Pepsodent started its sale, People started liking it because of the freshness and cooling effect of peppermint oil, citric acid, and some chemicals. When it was researched and discovered, people said that when they do not use or forget Pepsodent, their mind reminds them that they are missing something cold, some tingling in their mouth. They missed that slight excitement, which always reminded them they had to use that particular paste. They got used to that freshness and cold feeling. Hopkins did not sell beautiful teeth to people, but sold that feeling of coldness and freshness. Whether paste worked or not, it did not make any difference to the people. But yes, people believed that the paste was doing its job, and this belief came to them because of its cool freshness and smell. As a result, people had complete faith that paste was doing its job. We can understand the basic formula of how we can form habits. If you want to work out every day, then as soon as you wake up, go to the gym or the park without doing anything else. You will go straight to the gym, and after exercising there, you will reward or pamper yourself by having some food you like or going out to a nice club or a pub. This reward will encourage your mind to convert this routine into a habit. Slowly, your mind will turn this routine into a habit. There is a saying that if you want to get some work done quickly, give that work to a lazy person. Either that work will not be done or it will be done in the shortest possible time. Researchers and scientists have discovered that whenever we do any work, our brain looks for the least laborious way. Habits are formed from this pattern of our brain. It can convert anything into practice. Our brain does this so that the other parts of the brain can get rest. It should not be overburdened. Some backup always works in the brain. The extra files are stored somewhere else in the brain, and our brain is continually working to do the long work in the shortest possible way. We do not need to learn the same thing again after learning it once, as it becomes a part of our habit. Speaking, walking, and driving are a few examples of this. All we need is to focus and be attentive. And because of this habit of our mind, humans are progressing day by day in every field. But there are some limitations. For example, when our mind is not fully alert and dependent on habits. In such cases, say if you are about to cross a road, the chances of getting into an accident are more. To avoid such instances, our brain has developed a second working mechanism to understand when the habits must start working. You notice when you are crossing the road, you stop for a minute, then walk, then stop, then walk again, and your brain decides in those short pauses what to do now. And in such a situation, it does not follow the habits. So this means that our mind only follows the habits when needed. Our basal ganglia and brain allow us to switch on or off our practices. One thing is very clear from this fact. Whenever we form a habit, our brain uses it. And when a decision has to be taken, the mind is not fully involved. At that time, our mind does not work hard and is engaged in some other task. Also, as long as we do not overwrite any new habit on our old habits, those old habits continue to work in the same manner without any disturbance. And even if we miss that habit someday, our brain alerts us that we have missed something today. What's important is not how much we can learn. What is important is how much we can forget. Many people are not able to give up their habits, but the truth is that habits can be easily rewritten. Our brain is a supercomputer, in which another habit can replace one habit. By doing this, we can easily leave old habits. Old habits can be ignored, changed, or abandoned, and new habits can also be formed. Understanding the habit path is very important. We can easily control, create, change, or leave our habits only if we understand how they work and how we get caught in the trap of these habits. To understand the pattern of our habits correctly, we must first understand a part of our brain which is called the basal ganglia, which controls many activities such as motor learning and motor activities in our body such as walking, shaking hands, or emotions like our desires, greed, anger, etc. As per the results of many experiments on animals, it is proved that habits never completely disappear. It remains hidden or suppressed in some corner of our brains. Thus, it benefits us a lot, as we need not relearn our daily activities like driving, brushing, wearing shoes, wearing clothes, eating food, walking, speaking, etc. But it also has a negative side. Our bad habits also remain hidden in some corners of our brains. A great example can be an alcoholic who goes back to the same addiction because they cannot forget their old habits. Often, new habits are weak and not attractive to them, so they fall into the trap of old habits. In such a situation, the new habits we are forming should be interesting and fruitful, so that our mind never goes towards old habits. Habits must be formed carefully because they don't leave us easily. Generally, it takes effort to form a habit, but sometimes habits are formed unconsciously. Some people get used to any word called takya kalam in Urdu. Some people have a habit of twitching, biting their nails, or blinking their eyes. These habits are formed unintentionally, but leave a very deep impact on our life. Sometimes these habits become very powerful and dominate our rational thinking. The National Institute of Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism researchers conducted experiments on rats. The training was given to the rats. They would run and press a lever after getting the signal. Thus, this habit was formed. Then, in the next phase, some poison was mixed in their food and an electric current was added to their route. Initially, when the rats understood the danger, they avoided both stimuli, but after some time, they could not control themselves and ate the contaminated food and walked on the electric current path. We find many such examples in our daily life too. We introduce junk and processed food to children, and gradually these things become their habits. Though we don't want to make a habit of this, we are compelled to do the same thing. Gradually, the frequency of these bad habits increases from once a week to every day of the week. Americans were troubled by obesity due to their habit of eating junk food and carbonated beverages. People do not get rid of addictions such as smoking or alcohol or any other substance once it becomes their habit. You need to keep an eye on yourself, your behaviors, and your daily habits. If the mind is repeatedly urging for something and asking you to do it, then understand that you have gotten used to it. And only you can decide whether that habit is good or bad for you. Understanding the human mind is as complex as understanding the whole universe. Our mind has a unique power inside it. Even if it has no memories, it still understands emotions and finds happiness according to its own accord. For Square, a researcher, memory was an exciting subject. He had a patient named Eugene who had lost his memory, but his wife always helped him whenever he needed her. She changed his bad habit of eating unhealthy food with love and care. She used to place a salad dish in front of him every time. He was ill, and easy to digest food was essential, so a salad helped him. Due to this, his eating and drinking habits improved. Despite this, Eugene's health kept deteriorating, and one day Eugene had a heart attack. He was hospitalized, but he was not cooperating with the hospital staff. He kept trying to remove all the syringes, injections, and wires and became uncontrollable and upset. When his daughter came, she said her father liked to hear compliments. As he could not remember anything, they should take advantage of the habit they had followed for many years. So the nurse started praising him, saying that by sitting quietly and giving cooperation, he is doing the work of social welfare. He could relate to these things, and it became a matter of his pride. He felt he was doing a great job helping people by sitting on the bed. Because of his behavior, he got permission to go home within just a week. Then, a few years later, he fell and was hospitalized again. Square and his colleagues were worried that Eugene would now be unable to remember where he was, due to which he could get a panic attack. They made all the efforts to solve the problem. They began to lay slips with notes such as where is he and why is he there. They put a photo of his family so that he remembers that these are his family members. However, Eugene was never worried about this. He didn't even ask once why is he in the hospital. Obviously, he could not remember things. Also, after this struggle of 15 years, perhaps his mind had accepted that something different or strange always happens to him. That is, a kind of acceptance had come to him. He probably assumed in his mind that there were some things in the life that he would never understand. And this understanding, this acceptance, gave him a peaceful life. And based on similar research, it can be said that our mind finds happiness in itself. Do you know that our habits drive the world of advertising? In this day and age, everything is promoted. By repeatedly hammering it, we get used to the fact that a particular product is necessary for us. The purpose is only to tell how important that thing is to us. So we should get used to that thing. Let us understand this with an example. P&G company and their team of researchers wanted to promote a product that would eliminate foul odor. The responsibility to sell this spray was given to a young and energetic marketeer named Stimson. He surveyed many households and collected feedback. Cans of the spray were distributed in the city to motivate people to use the product and put this into their habits. During this campaign, Stimson met a 27-year-old lady, a park ranger, whose job was to catch the animals like wolves, raccoons, and skunks, which emit a bad odor. So when Stimson and his companions went to that park ranger's house, they smelled bad. She was agitated as she was rejected in marriage proposals due to this stinking smell. So Stimson gave this product to the lady and asked her to give feedback after using it. The lady used this product and was very happy as the problem was solved. Stimson was motivated to sell this product, and that too in large quantities. But there was another challenge waiting for him. Animal lovers did not find this product beneficial as they were used to the smell of their pets, and some even liked it. It is said that the habit of these people resulted in the failure of this product then. Following the disaster, P&G then spent a lot of money, built a huge team, and launched Febreze spray as a new startup. Stimson and his team started looking for new ways to make this product famous. They focused on finding new habits in people. In this search, he met a lady living in a small place outside the city of Scotland in America. Although her house was not lavish, it was still clean. The lady said that she uses Febreze every day, not to remove the bad smell, but because it gives her a feeling of freshness. Stimson was delighted to hear this. He got the idea to promote the product. If a sense of completion and achievement is added to the fragrance, then it becomes a feeling of celebration. Stimson made ads based on this knowledge, and soon Febreze became a household name. Procter & Gamble did $1 billion business that year. Stimson then realized he was taking the promotion of the product in the wrong direction by paying attention to the problem of only a single case of the park ranger lady. That incident can happen to any woman. But when Stimson found out the right habit that can be generalized to most women, he used that habit in his ads. The ladies of most of the house warmly welcomed Febreze. As a result, P&G did a lot of business and earned a lot of profit. After that, it also came up with more products like room fresheners, sprays, perfumes, deodorants, etc. We can find solutions to every problem by identifying the right habit. If we have ever been in some trap, there is solace to getting out of that situation. The same desire to get out of the situation happens with drug addicts or alcoholics. Due to such desires, our mind goes into autopilot mode and works under the influence of that desire. Scientists examine people addicted to alcohol and cigarettes and try to learn how it affects their brains when a notion gets rooted deeply in their minds. They were interested to know what changes occur in the neurochemicals released in their brains. Two researchers from Michigan University say that some of our powerful habits create bad habits. If that happens, people can do anything to an extreme extent. People, under such situations, leave their homes, jobs, or even families, and are ready to make all sacrifices to fulfill the addiction or the bad habit. But these researchers even found that even though these desires are strong, they cannot completely dominate us. These desires can be controlled by replacing them with other habits. But to maintain these habits, one must understand which behavior is activated by which desire. You might have seen people getting the urge to buy coffee or ice cream or eat pizza while shopping in a shopping mall, as if someone is telling them to do this. They are unaware, but it is unconsciously included in their habit. In the same way, when you do not know your desires, you suddenly start doing such things unintentionally and unconsciously, which are harmful to you, out of your habit. Scientists researched bad habits as well as good habits to understand the psychology of the habit. They wanted to know how good habits affect a person. They focused on the habit of exercise. How do people habitually exercise? These researchers researched about 250 such people. They found that many started running for fun or doing weightlifting for enjoyment. Some people utilized their free time to exercise. Some people used to exercise to eliminate the tension, and others just for fun. But all of them gradually got involved in their habit. So, one of the reasons behind doing exercise was the desire to get a special kind of reward. When we exercise, our body releases hormones like endorphins and other neurochemicals, which make us feel good. People used to feel good, which kept them happy throughout the day. Hence, those people do not leave working out in the temptation of this reward. Another group reported that their success ratio increases significantly when they go out for some work after exercising. They started to feel a sense of achievement, and this was their prize. So, if anyone wants to include running or exercise in their habit, they must do two things. Make a simple signal, like keeping your clothes and shoes ready around you, and wear them as soon as you wake up. This signal will help your mind accept it as a habit. As soon as you finish your exercise, have your favorite drink or do whatever you like. Your brain will soon start to learn the fact that it will get a reward after each session of exercise. If you do it daily, you will get used to it. If your thinking and understanding are correct, and you know about the behavior of others and you take care of them, then you can help them change their behavior and habits. Tony Dungy was a coach who made the world's worst team of his time the number one team. He took his team of NFL to the playoffs 10 times consecutively. Tony Dungy became the first African American coach to win the Super Bowl. He did it all by changing just one small thing without doing big experiments. He understood the behavior of the players. Book and his team was playing against the last year's champion team in San Diego City of America. After running, jumping, and losing the goals for a long time in the game, the players of Buccaneers team suddenly start the siege. While the stadium was laughing at Coach Dungy was happily cheering and waiting for the winning moment. He had taught the basics to the players, due to which they changed their habits, game pattern, and shots with a straight and simple plan. Dungy did not believe in all the maneuvers. He stressed the players' quickness and smartness. He changed this small habit and the team won the match. Coach Dungy followed the 2 points of habit formation mentioned earlier. The first thing is a reminder or signal to start the desired task, and second is a reward after completing the task. Coach Dungy made a small modification. He made efforts to change the activities of the players. He paid attention to their food and running techniques and created a new rule. Not 2, but 3 things are needed to form habits. First, a point that reminds you what to do and what you want to achieve. Second, what are you practicing? What action are you taking every day to achieve that goal? And third, what will you get as a reward when you achieve that goal? Keeping these 3 aspects in mind, Coach Dungy worked with his team and told them that habits could be changed and proved that the losing team could also win. If you are determined, you can change anything, be it your habit or luck. In 1934, new plans were made to change human habits in the dirty and dark basement of a building in New York City. This can be called the world's most successful habit change plan. One of the people in the basement was a 39-year-old man, Bill Wilson. He was addicted to alcohol. He had consumed alcohol for the first time during the training camp. At that time, he was only 22 years old. And before that, he had never even touched alcohol. And after that, he got addicted to it. One day, he invited his friend and offered him liquor. His friend dissuaded him and said that he had given up alcohol. Wilson was very surprised. He told his friend about the many problems created due to his alcohol addiction. Wilson also told his friend that he tried hard to quit. He even went to the de-addiction center and brought medicines. but he could not get rid of alcohol. Then he asked his friend, how did he leave it? Wilson's friend said he had given up alcohol for fear of God. Wilson tried the same, but this formula did not work for him. Things got worse. Wilson got extreme pain and could no longer tolerate it and was admitted to the hospital. When he returned after recovering, he did not even look at alcohol. The most important thing to be learned from this story is that any habit can be modified, but there must be some bigger cause than that habit. Whenever we want to leave any habit, we must find a bigger reason than the habit. In the case of Wilson, fear of death made him stop his alcoholism. We also have to pay attention to our surroundings and observe ourselves to find what is more important than our bad habits and for which we can leave our bad habits. The good habit is a reward in itself and will help you break your bad habit. You must have often prepared your mind to give up a bad habit and also give up successfully for a few months. But suddenly, the craving arises in your mind and you start the same bad habit again. For example, you must have smoked the cigarette again at one of the restless moments, broken your resolution and had tea again at one weak moment, etc. What are the drives which compel you to repeat bad habits? A girl named Mandy had a habit of biting her nails. Mandy had bitten her nails to the extent that her fingers were bleeding. She had also cut off the flesh around the nail, and she did not do so intentionally. When asked why she does this, she said that in the beginning she would cut her nails like other people. But gradually she started biting her nails. Mandy was taught to give a competing response. A competing response is a response that replaces your urge, which is your main habit. For any habit to be formed or to deteriorate, it is necessary to have three things. First is a signal by which you know that a particular work must be done. By understanding that signal, a particular action can be cutting teeth, drinking tea, walking, playing, sleeping, or anything. And lastly, what reward do you get after doing this action? What makes you happy? What does your brain accept as a reward? These three factors collectively form a habit or change a habit. In Mandy's case, she was exposed to many challenging situations and emotional turmoil. And then it was found that Mandy started biting her nails. Not due to some great trouble or fear, but out of boredom. She unknowingly cuts her nails to such an extent that she harms herself. Her treatment started through a competing response. Mandy was told that whenever she felt such an urge to cut her nails, she just had to put a tick on a card. Initially, the tick marks were more. After 2 months of treatment, Mandy was told that she should start giving a competing response whenever she felt an urge. This competing response can be anything, like patting the table, humming, walking, or eating something. The treatment continued for some time, and soon her habit improved. Then came a time when she finally stopped biting her nails. Instead of erasing a program on the computer, it should be rewritten. Nathan Acherin, a trainer who helps people improve their habits, said that although it looks straightforward, once you know the signals and rewards of your habits, then habits can be changed in less time. It is possible to reprogram your brain. You just need to know the beginning part, which is the initial signal, the middle part, which is actions related to habit, and the end part, which is finding out the thing which your brain accepts as a reward. If this is clear to you, you can change your habit by changing the middle action and keeping the signal and reward the same. How can you change your habits? This subject is easy to follow, but challenging at the same time. Unfortunately, there is no direct way to change habits. Every person must use novel and unique tricks to change every habit. Habits cannot be eradicated from the root, but new practices can be adopted in place of old habits. We have also understood the golden formula of signal, action, reward. But believing in yourself is equally very important. To bring a change in habit, we must have faith in ourselves that whatever changes we bring in our practices will happen in reality. Often this belief comes to people only by staying in a group. People in the centers can easily leave all these addictions, from cigarettes to alcohol, with the help of group support. Secondly, to change habits such as smoking or drinking, something equally effective should be applied in its place. For example, people chew nicotine chewing gum instead of a cigarette, which replaces their action, and gradually stop smoking cigarettes. Similarly, if you want to reduce your weight, you must pay attention to your eating habits, timings of eating, and reasons for eating, like whether you are eating when you are stressed, what type of food you eat, etc. Then you can divert your mind by talking with a friend or joining some group that will help you eliminate this habit. Third, if you do not have such people around you, you can follow the diet plan. Promise yourself that you will eat fruits or something healthy whenever you feel the urge to eat unhealthy snacks. You will find that your unhealthy habit will slowly turn into a healthy one. So, it is clear that if you want to change your old habit, you have to find some new action, some new activity as an alternative. If you do this by becoming a part of a group and trusting yourself, you will be successful soon. When you become a part of a group, confidence automatically increases. Seeing people like you working together boosts confidence and helps to break bad habits. We should believe that change is possible. A smoker can come out of this addiction. The loser can become the champion. And you can change any habit that harms you. Small habits that we do not pay attention to, such as shouting at children, staying up all night, and taking tension on small things, can also be easily controlled. We should find a substitute for them. Researchers have found that if the right steps are taken to change habits, then even the practices of big companies, organizations, and business houses can be changed, and they can progress towards success. When a group puts its efforts towards the same goal and forms its habits, no one can stop its success. October 1987. Aluminium Company of America, Alcoa, had a meeting in a very grand hotel in Manhattan, where many investors and shareholders met its new CEO. Many of the people sitting in this meeting hall had invested millions of dollars in this company and were earning a lot of profit, but they had losses in the previous year. The company held the meeting to understand the reasons for the failures. With the election of a new CEO, everyone hoped that the problem will be solved. But Paul O'Neill, the new CEO, gave a speech on injuries and death of workers and safety measures for workers. He did not even mention the tax or profit of investors. He did not discuss any plan to earn profit in the future. In disappointment, many investors decided to sell their shares to save at least the original invested amount. But those who sold the shares saw that exactly 1 year later, the Alcoa company made a record profit. And by the time Paul O'Neill retired, the company's profits had grown more than 5 times. And all this happened only because of O'Neill's policy. He made his company Alcoa one of the safest companies in the world. Paul O'Neill decided to fix the basic requirements. The safety measure gave workers a sense of security, and they worked happily in the company. He said that everyone wants their workplace to be such that there is no danger and it is completely safe. The ideal situation is that an employee who comes to work in good condition should be safe, and in the same good condition, he finishes his work and returns home. Not even one worker should think that his life is in danger here. If they feel their life is in danger, they will not feel like doing their work. They should not think they risk their lives daily to feed their family. That's why Paul O'Neill decided to focus on employee safety. And the priority on his list was to change people's safety habits. Most people didn't realize that Paul O'Neill's zero accident plan was the biggest rebuilding plan in Alcoa's history to date. Paul O'Neill's employee safety plan was designed with a system of habit. He acted on the same golden rule. He had chosen a simple signal: the causes of accidents. Then he took related actions by establishing an automatic routine. He told workers and their heads to inform immediately about the accident and take precautions in the future. Finally, the reward, in the form of promotion to the workers who follow all these orders and give suggestions for the betterment of the company. In this way, Paul O'Neill instilled new habits in the people of his company, in which the investors did not show trust. This company became 5 times more valuable, and its worth increased. And such great success was achieved by Paul O'Neill, just by recognizing the basic needs and habits. Habits have the power to lead you successful or fail. Michael Phelps was one of the brightest swimmers in the world. He has 9 gold medals in total. On the competition day, also he used to follow his habits. There were 2 races to be held that day. The same week, he had already won 3 gold medals. He got out of bed as usual at 6:30 a.m., got dressed, and came out to have breakfast. He reached the cafeteria at 7 a.m. He had breakfast as per his diet, which would give him 6,000 calories. At exactly 8:30 a.m., he got down in the swimming pool and started practicing. He practiced all the styles of swimming as per his habit. Finally, he put on the music for relaxation. This was his daily routine before every race. He had kept the habit of winning every race. Phelps started swimming at the young age of 7. He was very agile and had unbelievable stamina. But Phelps created this pre-match routine and these habits because during his early days he was very scared and emotional and used to become a victim of anxiety. He could not calm himself before the race. Bob Bowman, a local coach at his training center, saw him and understood that he could become a champion if these habits were improved. So he bought Michael a book. It was related to how to control yourself, the small relaxation exercise or the exercise to make a routine, which Michael Phelps' mother read aloud to him daily. After following every instruction written in that book properly, a time came when Michael Phelps learned to relax before sleeping and used to follow the same routine when he woke up in the morning. His coach Bowman knew that the secret to a swimmer's success is the correct routine. Bowman developed some such habits in Phelps. With the help of these habits, he could remain mentally powerful and become an outstanding swimmer. But the interesting thing was that these were habits that had nothing to do with swimming, but could lead to correct mental practice in Phelps. He created a routine that could help him concentrate, meditate, and calm down before the race. In swimming, the difference between victory and defeat is only a few milliseconds. Therefore, by following such a routine, Phelps got a lot of benefit and confirmed his victory. Michael Phelps followed that routine in his career and personal life too. He used to watch a picturized videotape before sleeping and after waking up as well to keep him motivated. That video was a guided meditation in which Michael Phelps could imagine everything from getting into the water and participating in the race to winning the race. There were scenes in it that made Phelps feel that he was winning. It helped him to build his confidence. He used to instruct his subconscious mind that he had to win. And when the practice sessions would start, Coach Bowman would instruct Phelps to play his videotape. Phelps would know what he had to do to win. And so, Michael Phelps developed the habit of winning. If you want to conquer the top of the mountains, then learn to take small steps. Big leaps will come automatically. It is said that if you practice one thing every day, it becomes your habit. Now, if the same routine is used to achieve a particular target or a goal, you will surely achieve that goal. Other coaches instructed the swimmers to practice more swimming. In comparison, Coach Bob Bowman asked Michael Phelps to work on his routine and improve his habits. There was a logic behind it. Phelps' mind had become so familiar with that routine that he did not worry about other things. Even swimming had become his habit, due to which he did not prepare for any special session, unlike other swimmers when preparing for the competition. Michael Phelps has been practicing swimming every day his entire life. He made it his habit, but it was not easy. Bowman says that they kept experimenting with different things until they found that one thing, that one way benefiting them. Sooner, they realized that by recording the small moments of victory and using them as guided meditation, Phelps could become a champion swimmer. So watching the recorded tape became a part of his routine. He used to perform specific routine actions before each swimming race, like getting up and getting ready, having breakfast, getting down to the pool, stretching, etc. at a particular time. It had become so ingrained in his brain that even Phelps could not tell what he was thinking before any competition because he was following only his routine. But the truth is that his mind is programmed so that he is unknowingly moving towards his goal, which is winning. It was 9:56 a.m. in Beijing and only 4 minutes left in the race. Phelps stood at his starting point. He was slowly bouncing on his toes, doing a little stretching. After he heard the announcement of his name, Phelps stood at the starting point as usual, and then went down a notch and swung his arms in the air 3 times, as was his habit. As soon as the shot was fired, he jumped into the water, but realized that something was wrong, because the water of the pool had entered his goggles, as there was a big hole in the bottom of his goggles. By the time he crossed the second bend, everything had become blurry for him. Before Phelps could reach the third turn and the last lap, his goggles were filled with water. Now, Phelps could neither see the lines made at the bottom of the swimming pool nor the tee that he had to touch. Phelps was completely directionless at that time. In the final event of the Olympics, any swimmer can panic due to such a problem. But Phelps was relatively calm. On that day also everything happened according to his plan. Having a hole in the goggle was a minor hindrance in his routine, and he was already prepared to deal with it. Burman had trained Phelps to prepare for every situation or challenge. In his mental visualization, he had also prepared to face adverse situations. Burman had already trained Phelps on what he should do if the goggles were damaged. Even before starting his last lap, Phelps estimated that by the end of the lap, about 90 to 20 strokes were needed. He started counting and kept going very fast. His mind was not disturbed by the hole in the goggles. He was very calm. After the 18th stroke, he felt that the pool wall was just about to come, and he could hear the audiences cheering. He made a few more strokes and touched the walls of the pool. His guess was right. He came out of the water, took off the goggles, and saw his name on the top with the word written World Record. A journalist asked him, how did he feel when he was swimming? Michael Phelps answered that he did not feel anything different. This was one of the small successes in his life. If you believe that you can, you can. Like successful people, successful companies also have many habits, which you can call strategies. If you ask them, this is their work culture. Few companies like Starbucks have taught many life lessons to thousands of people working there. Lessons and qualities that their family, their school, or society could never teach. Starbucks is also a massive education center because it gives about 50 hours of training, guidance, and counseling, and books and content to read to its employees. A very important habit at the core of this education is to develop the habit of willpower in people and to develop the habit of I can do. Many researchers have said that successful people have the habit of willpower. The University of Pennsylvania researched that children with strong willpower are more active and achieve success. But those children who lacked willpower, self-confidence, and the desire to progress were behind in their studies. They were not disciplined. From these researches, it was found that students should incorporate this habit into their daily routines to increase willpower. Angela Duckworth, a researcher, said, it seems that self-disciplined people are not working hard. But the truth is that hard work is part of their habits. They don't do anything different to work hard, as it is a part of their routine. And slowly and gradually, they become successful. In the 90s, when the Starbucks company made new strategies to spread its business, its management learned something vital. They noticed that if they want the customer to spend $4 for just one cup of coffee, then they should offer the customers an atmosphere and experience of the same quality. If they give a cup of coffee or a plate of small breakfast, they should serve it happily, so that the customer feels valued and special. For this, it was important that the people working in that company should be in the habit of serving and taking care of the people. So the workers were trained accordingly. Starbucks taught its employees to control their emotions through counseling. They were disciplined in a manner that they felt good while taking orders from every customer. And customers also used to realize this. The company's management understood that unless the workers learn to separate their problems from themselves during the work, the company will not grow. One more research on willpower was done at Case Western Reserve University. Children were instructed not to eat cookies till the teacher returned. If they wait, then they would be given 2 cookies. They were being observed without their notice. It was found that 25 children controlled themselves and, as told, received 2 cookies. All the other children picked up 1 cookie each and had ate it. They could not stop themselves from eating cookies. The research did not end here. Researchers kept a track record of all those 25 children for the next several years and found that they were progressing well than the rest. With this result, scientists did more new research because they wanted to know how self-control can be developed. In these experiments, they found that a successful way to teach children self-control is to divert their attention. Training was given to those children to control their desires, such as how they should divert their minds when something is tempting to them. They can make a painting, play some games, and imagine something so that their attention can be diverted from that sweet, and they should assume that the sweet is fake. This method proved successful. These habits are helpful in other areas of life as well. It was proved that willpower and self-control could be developed as a habit through practice. If you have a habit of saying no to everything, it will be beneficial to say yes once in a while. A lot of research was done on self-control and willpower. One such research was done in 1992, in which an attempt was made to convert the people who always say no to everything and do not accept changes in life. The question was how to convert their negative thoughts into positive ones, and how to increase their self-control and willpower. A psychologist from Britain experimented on an orthopedic hospital in Scotland. He chose about 5 dozen people above 65 years for the experiment. Their other factors were kept constant. Their age, income, family background, education level, and injuries were similar. Hip or knee surgery is very painful, and it hurts a lot even after the surgery. Though exercise is necessary, most people give up due to pain. Most of them did not attend exercise sessions because they feared physical discomfort, and the psychiatrist knew this. She wanted to know whether their self-control or willpower can be awakened. After the surgery, she gave an instruction booklet to all the patients. The booklet included information about all the health-related sessions in detail. There were also a few pages that contained incomplete information that those patients had to complete. They had to complete the sentences with details, like what is their target for the week, what they were going to do, when are they going to get well, etc. After 3 months, after checking their routine books, the researchers divided them into 2 groups. One group had written proper detailing about what and how they will do, and the other did not write anything or wrote a little and left everything else blank. This research revealed that the people who wrote the answer to every question about their plan and how they would be cured with all the small details could stand, sit, stretch, and be more healthy. To explain this experiment, the psychiatrist shared a booklet in which all the details were written. These people had mentioned everything in detail. For example, one patient wrote, "Tomorrow I will be going to the bus stop to meet my wife." He also mentioned when will he leave the house, by which route will he go, what medicine he would keep with him, etc. They wrote a lot of information with minute details, and it was found that the patients with this type of booklet were completely healthy. They were able to stand and could walk even after surgery. While checking these booklets, the psychiatrist noted one thing common in all the booklets. The patients gave the most attention on how to control the pain. They had written the solutions to their problems. For example, taking the next step immediately while getting up from the couch, taking stock of problems and solutions while going to a bus stop, etc. In this way, they had already found a solution to deal with those obstacles. The patients had already made precautionary plans and solutions to control or avoid the pain. They found the solutions with common sense and followed the basics. A patient going to meet his wife at the bus stop found a simple signal, and that was 3:30 p.m., the time when his wife returned home from work. He had kept a reward for himself, meeting his wife. When he crossed the halfway mark, his pain increased, and he wished that he was no longer able to walk. He would have ignored that desire because now he had developed the habit of self-discipline and self-control. Those who had written their plans and told themselves what to do during this treatment recovered very quickly and got cured. Those who had not written anything in their notebook or ignored it didn't improve much. They remained on the bed. It took them a long time to recover. Self-control and willpower are habits of telling yourself that you can do anything you want. It is one of the best habits to adopt. The habit of taking care of yourself in times of difficulty and the habit of improving the situation will help you live through challenging situations and difficult times. Troubles, ups and downs, difficulties, problems. All these are part of life. And whenever these problems come into our life, how we deal with them depends on how we have trained ourselves and what habits we have taught ourselves. There was a hospital in Rhode Island where the surgeons would make some or the other mistake while doing surgeries. This happened for a few years, and one day this became breaking news for the media. The media waited the whole day expecting such mistakes and to make news out of them. The problem had intensified so much that the doctors, nurses, and staff were all afraid. All these impacted the work. After being surrounded by the media and critics, the hospital staff and management decided that this problem should be resolved and the image of the hospital should be corrected. All the doctors and managers started insisting that someone was doing this intentionally to defame their hospital, and the media was biased. However, the manager of the group, Dr. Cooper, saw it as an opportunity. He said that the time has come to correct the mistakes. He closed the hospital for one day and started preparing to train all the surgical units. The staff was given special training, and it was also found that there is a big communication gap. So it was also improved. The senior staff who made the mistakes resigned from their jobs, and the hospital staff focused on improving the work more than fixing the image. There were criticisms and pressure from people, the government, and the media. So the hospital's management tried all kinds of solutions to change its culture, which was prone to mistakes. They adopted the safety round, which meant that a senior doctor would discuss one of his surgeries or treatment every 3 months, and the problems he faced with all the doctors in the hospital. They would also talk about probable mistakes. Showing the qualities of a good leader, the hospital decided to accept the mistakes and worked on them. Gradually, it gained people's confidence. Seeing the crisis at Rhode Island Hospital, other hospitals made the same changes. Improvements are usually only possible when there is a major crisis. That is, the difficult time tests whether you are ready for that situation. If you have a habit of correcting yourself in those difficult situations and handling yourself well, you can always keep moving forward and progressing. If you know the needs and habits of your customers, then you will be successful in business. If you know the demands and preference of customers, then you can work in that direction and take your business to new heights. But this is not often the case. People start a service or launch a product keeping the customers and end users in mind. But later, few companies lose that focus. Let's take an example. In 2003, the song Hey Ya was released. There was a widespread opinion that this song should be the most hit song of that year because it was sung by a top artist, performed by top bands, and was heavily promoted. Everyone was very confident about its success, but the listeners rejected that song by saying it was a ridiculous song. The music industry to date is trying to find how to create a hit song. Even today, no one knows what the formula is to make a hit song. Rich Mayer attempted to find a scientific reason for people's interest. Rich Mayer, with his wife Nancy, had started a company called Media Base in his home in Chicago. Both used to listen to the recorded radio program of different cities and analyze the songs. He used to write in the newspaper about the details of songs and people's liking. Many radio stations thought of using the mayor's help to increase the number of their listeners. They began to read his articles to understand the popular trend among the audience. Due to this, the sales of his newsletter started increasing. Through his newsletter, Mayer was selling the extracted data of the listeners to the radio stations. Gradually, an entire industry of data analysts was set up and started offering companies the same service that Mayer provided. It completely changed the way radio stations worked, and its original idea was to provide what the listeners liked. Mayer was interested to know why the listeners don't ever switch channels to other radio stations when they are listening to some songs. People used to stick to some tunes. He referred to these songs as sticky songs. Mayer noticed one thing over many years. All the special songs have a special thing. Though they differ in the beat, lyrics, and music, they have one thing in common. It was the fact that after listening to those songs, one could relate to them. There is a personalized touch in those songs. The songs that famous artists sang used to become sticky songs. But there were some songs whose singers were not known to the public. But they still became popular Another interesting thing in this research was that there were songs that people did not like but were still sticky songs. People used to listen to and criticize them a lot. Mayer says that radio stations often used to call their listeners and do research after making them listen to a small part of that song. People responded that they had heard this song many times and were tired of listening to it. But still, they used to listen to this song when it played on the radio, because there is human psychology behind it. The listener felt that this was a known song and liked humming it along with the radio. We like the songs whose sound is familiar to us and the ones we can sing. And this formula worked for the industry at that time. The logic behind the research of these songs was that our brain likes to listen to familiar voices, the same sounds that it recognizes. It does not even accept unfamiliar sounds. So, if you know the need of your customers, take care of them and acknowledge their habits to progress in your business.